Timestamps for each section of the topic is in the video and description. I had previously done a topic-centric narration and I wanted to try again to see if I could get better at this. Most of it's still scripted because of how I'd otherwise stutter, and at this stage I'd sound like I'm badly mumble rapping if I didn't script things at all. Realistically, there's going to be some fumbling with what I say. Script and all, I hope it doesn't sound too stiff this time. Feedback through likes or comments would really be helpful to know how to make this kind of content better. For clarification, in this video I'm going to switch between the terms M.I.s and mental illness. They mean the same thing, one is just the abbreviation of the other. Last time, I briefly touched on mental illnesses and how it can affect your art, but it wasn't anywhere near the center of discussion that time. But you've noticed the video's title already, so you can probably see where I'm going with this. Before going deep into the topic though, it'd be kind of weird not to mention what I'm drawing at all. But don't worry, the art itself does relate to the topic at hand. In the beginning of the video recording, there was already something drawn on the canvas. That was something I mostly scrapped because it was an attempt at making a doodle from memory of the protagonist from the horror manga Uzumaki, made by renowned mangaka Junji Ito. And then I actually used reference for how she looked like after I started recording, as I was pretty sure she wasn't looking much like herself when I started. From the very beginning to end, it took an hour, but the actual recorded part was almost exactly 39 minutes. The process was made easier by the already chosen color palette from the first attempt and the later use of reference. The recording should be sped up much less than my other art time-lapses, so you can better see what I do this time. This piece shows Kirie's, the protagonist's, iconic look in Chapter 6, where her hair seems to come alive with the essence of the spiral. The spiral being the whole idea behind Uzumaki's horror and story. Read the manga for more context to what I just said. However, be aware that it's got grotesque imagery and gore, so it's not for the faint of heart. I've drawn Kirie Goshima before on my own time, especially when I was really getting into Junji Ito's works. Ito focuses on particular kinds of horror: existential, psychological, and body horror. Occasionally cosmic horror. His art captures a certain kind of beauty in the type of fear its subjects evoke. Hypnotic and very detailed. Ito's art is recognizable for this, and how he uses his drawings to better convey the usually odd and specific premises he comes up with, which is pretty inspiring and just drives me to want to draw much more and have a recognizable essence in my art. If you're familiar with his works, you'd understand what I mean. Though if you are well acquainted with his stories, I'd like to know which ones, if any, you liked and why. You can comment it on this video. I'm really curious, as mine are The Human Chair, Uzumaki, and Tomie. In Uzumaki specifically, the various characters and their psyches are stretched with paranoia, obsession, depression, an increasingly strong sense of dread, and so much fear with each occurrence that happens related to the spiral. His art and how he weaves his stories are part of what drew me into his work, entrancing me to the visuals and writing while relating it to my own experiences and reality. How does all of this relate to mental illness and my experience? Well, to make this exceedingly clear, I am mentally ill, though it'd be generally unwise to give a lot of detail about my personal life on YouTube, so I won't give too much detail. Consider this my being transparent about a big part of me and my life, and a very huge chunk of my life is me not having treatment or therapy for symptoms and disorders that started early in my life. You can imagine that it hasn't been particularly easy dealing with all of that, and that it of course has influenced how I view and create things. In terms of psychosis, I have had hallucinations and much more frequent and persistent delusions, a lot of which I'm aware to some degree would be considered delusions, But I cannot help believing anyways, and occasionally having anxiety attacks and breakdowns over them. They're mostly paranoia type. It's the type of stuff that would of course be thought of as pretty crazy, like me thinking people are secretly other people even when it doesn't make sense, that others can actually read my mind, that a lot of people are plotting my doom, that others are secretly not human or something. Does any of that sound familiar? It's the type of thing that appears in a lot of Junji Ito's works and other horror media. And no, my point isn't that I became deluded because of watching and reading horror. That wouldn't make sense in my life's timeline anyways. It's that those kinds of works reflect and appeal my fears in interesting ways, at least in the case of Junji Ito's stories, where the fear has enough distance to my own reality to be enjoyable and for me to be fascinated, but enough a connection where it would have a better link and make me think deeply about the premise while having a moment where I go, oh, that's eerily relatable somehow, where the fiction speaks to my reality, a mirror to reflect my thoughts in an over-the-top but chilling manner, where I'm too engrossed by a different perspective that for a while a part of me almost forgets the actually real-life scary and stressful horror of my own life. Like, I do relate sometimes, but the distance, the story, and the emotions it elicits in me are far apart enough where it's almost therapeutic in its own way. Beyond making illustrative standalone art, I've even been planning on making a story using my art and the type of things I would like to see and want to read, partly influenced by artists and writers I admire and enjoy the work of, which include, of course, Junji Ito. If there's any artist, any kind, that have inspired you or have had their work speak to you and your life significantly, I'd be glad to hear about that too, honestly. And that's about the end of my discussion here. If you like the video, subscribe for more or check the end of this video to see more video suggestions. Thanks for watching and see you later.